Hi everyone, welcome back. More negative numbers. This is where it starts to go crazy. Hard to fathom in a way because I don't see the purpose in going crazy on it, because in real life I just don't see them other than for an intellectual exercise. I will get to the end here. I'll do one of these which I refer to as crazies. So when I get students and they just want a challenge and just make it harder, Mr. P, I just make up crazy questions. But let's start with some of the easier ones to start with. This one up here, everything is multiply. So when you've got everything is multiply, just left to right. Don't get more complicated, don't think more complicated, just read like you'd normally read in the English language. We just read from left to right. So I go 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 10 is 60. So we've got a simple answer of that being 60, but then we've got a problem. Is it negative or is it positive? So then I'm looking at these 3 negatives again. So there's 3 negatives. When you're multiplying, 2 negatives become a plus, and then there's 1 left over. You've got to be careful with that finger, I suppose. So 2 negatives become a positive, and we've got 1 left over. So that ends up a negative. So it's like they match up and there's a left over to be by itself. So those two will match up, they become a positive, and that there's 1 left over, so it's a minus 60. Again, this question, a lot of people get mixed up and they think they do multiplication first, mostly because we have a thing called BIMDAS. New South Wales, when I was a child, we called it BOMDAS, and I heard of a different one recently, which is different again. And people think that multiplication is more powerful than division. Multiplication is not more powerful. These two here are equal in power, and then these two here are also equal in power. So when you've got addition and subtraction, when you have addition and subtraction, you just go left to right. When you have multiplication and division, you just go left to right. This is why some people don't call this BIMDAS, they actually call it BIDMAS. So it says to people that tries to get away from this idea that students think that multiplication is more powerful than division. So multiplication is not more powerful. So just like this one up here, I'm going to write it down again, just go from left to right. Now, some of you, when you get to the textbook exercises, there's a few of these that are quite okay, and a lot of you will manage and go a lot further, and once you know the rules, you're okay. Then you can start looking at the harder questions when you come to an assessment, instead of only doing the ones that are basic. So all I need to do is 8 divided by, watch what I'm doing, I'm ignoring the negatives. 8 divided by 2 is, how many times does 2 go into 8? I could take my time on that, but let's talk about that's 4. And then that answer of 4, we multiply it by 3. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, multiply it by 3, and our answer is just 12. Then we have to look back at the negatives. This is when it's all multiply, it's all to divide. So 2 negatives become a positive when you're multiplying and dividing. So it's got 2 negatives, it doesn't have 3, so that's a positive. Now it's a new situation, let's have a look at what it is. The multiply must be done first. I'm going to suggest to you one system. A lot of people see it in their head. I could just talk about this and go through it pretty quick. But let's slow down and look at this method in case this method works for you. If I put a bracket there and a bracket there, some people are helped by brackets. Some people find the brackets are just confusing. So I might even just rub this off in a moment and do it by a different method. Let's have a look at those two there and see what's going on. 3 4s are 12, so that's just simply 12. And then how many negatives are involved? We've got 1 negative in the bracket, so that becomes a minus 12. There are a lot of people out there who will do this, 2 minus. They'll look at those two there and say 3 4s are 12, so that becomes a negative 12. And now you can see that those two negatives become a positive because they're next to each other. There's nothing in the way to stop them from going together. So there's nothing was stopping them, like there's nothing in the way to stop them. So they can go straight through. So that becomes 2 plus 12, and that's 14. What if I rubbed that out and I did it without that bracket? Personally, I could look at it and just go, it's almost like, again, the peekaboo method. Cover over those and just go 3 4s are 12, that's 1 negative. So 3 4s are 12 and there's a negative, but had another subtraction here, or a negative here. So it depends how your brain operates. So with this one here, I could just go 10 plus. Look at these two, division gets done first before I can do the addition. So I've got a minus 5 divided by a minus 5. Anything divided by itself goes once. It doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive. If one was negative, one was positive, that would be different. But anything divided by the same thing can go in once. So that's just a 1. So if you're a bracket person, You can go a bracket there. On this one, we'd include that negative because it's part of the 5. So this is a negative, whereas this is an addition. So the answer to that part there is a 1, so it's just a 10 plus 1. Now a whole lot of people, if they're more confident, will just look at it and know what to do.